So I want to take you back to the early 90s for a moment. For some of you that might be a good trip, and for others I don't know. But back to the early 90s when I had my first job as a school psychologist. And I was very eager, as you might imagine, very inspired and motivated myself to deal with a really tough group of kids. I was working at a place called the Lord School in New York City. It was the last step for a lot of kids with severe emotional and learning disabilities before residential schooling and residential treatment. And so these kids with some very severe problems, but I was walking in there with my suitcase of behavioral tricks and token economy stuff, and I was raring to go. I mean, you'd have to be really inspired to do the commute that I even did from the eastern end of Long Island all the way into Chelsea. You can see why I tore my hair out, right? I mean, but I was inspired. It was an inspiring commute even. I have to just throw in that every day I drive by the house that Billy Joel lived in when he first hit it big. So I was really inspired. Drove through my old neighborhood of Queens, ultimately made it to Chelsea, which, as you may know, is a nice, upscale, fashionable neighborhood, a really lovely part of New York City that I enjoyed quite a bit. But then I'd get to this really cold, gray, concrete building above it, the little sign, the Lord School. I mean, nothing disparaging against them. They did a great job, as great as they could, but nothing in my training could have prepared me for the chaos that I was about to walk into. And even though I'd been there a few weeks before this momentous day that I'm about to describe to you, I wasn't prepared for this level of chaos on that day. I walk into the lobby and there are kids literally bouncing off the walls. And I don't use that word literally lightly. So it's not like teenagers texting to each other saying that they were literally rolling on the floor with laughter when they weren't, right? And they were figuratively. These were kids who were running up and putting their legs up on the wall and pushing off and trying to hit the ceiling and landing on other kids. Kids not going to their class, not taking the medication that they were supposed to from the school nurse, not separating from their parents. But above all of these noises, and these kids were very loud, above all of these noises, on that day, it felt as if I could only hear the parents and only hear the teachers. All I heard was that you have to do this, you better do that, or even empathic, kind, low-volume explanations about why what they're doing was unsafe, why they needed to do something different, get into the class, pleading, begging, their own token economy system. I'll buy you lunch at McDonald's if you just go into the class. And all I could hear and see was this really ineffective talk. And now, present company, I'm not saying that this is how we motivate the kids that we work with. But what I realized right there is that what we mainly were taught to do is to explain, educate, and promise good outcomes. And who better than the authority to say, if you do X, Y, and Z, you will feel better. If you take vitamins, things will be better. If you get your vaccinations, things will be better. If you go to your class, things will be better. Trust me, I'm the grown-up, I'm the parent, I'm the authority, I'm the physician. And all of that's well and good if somebody really doesn't have the knowledge base. But once somebody has the knowledge base around these things, and they don't do them still, despite that knowledge, we're dealing with a problem of motivation. And as logical as it may seem to explain to someone what they need to do when they don't seem motivated to do it, motivation is occurring mainly in the limbic system, right? And the explanations are firing away in the frontal lobes, and never the twain shall meet. And on that day, it really felt like the parents, the teachers, and my own behavioral strategies really fell flat. We couldn't get kids into the classroom. We couldn't get parents involved and to separate well. We couldn't get the kids to listen. So basically, no one was being motivated, and no one was going to change. And it was at that moment that I had my own aha moment, and I said, if we're going to motivate kids, or anybody who's resistant, we're going to need to come up with a radically different way of conversing with them. Something that at first glance may not make sense. Something's radically different from, if you do this, things will go better. If you don't, things will go worse, is going to sound really odd. And when I looked around to see what motivational devices and evidence-based approaches we had. There was very, very little until I heard of motivational interview. And that's when I said, okay, you know, this is worth a shot because this does sound odd. It sounds different. And perhaps for some, if you're familiar with, you know, very patient-centered approaches from long ago, you would have said, okay, this is like that old stuff. But there was no telling, there was no selling, there was no forcing, no authoritative explanations. It was something rather different. But walking the halls, trying to get kids back into the classroom, I needed something that was going to work quick. And so what I'd like to share with you today is my ultra-brief adaptation of motivational interviewing that is comprised of 6 questions that'll take you 7 minutes or less to do with someone. That will represent a very different way of motivating someone to do something that they need to do. And so I take some pains to explain that it's going to be very different to prepare you, perhaps to motivate you to listen. But my true hope is that 1 or 2 of these questions may stick out enough that you might try them and see for yourself, and it really starts a very different conversation. And even the people that I talk to who say, you know, even when it doesn't work, it does something for me. It creates less stress. There's less adversarial conversation.